What if there was a different way to live and work? Beyond the hustle and hype, beyond the never-ending race to get more clients, more money, more audience, a way that's nourishing, grounded, creative, connected, and still makes a major impact in the world. You're listening to Welleprener with me, your host, Amanda Cook. Join me as we explore alchemy and action for entrepreneurs who want to do well and be well. Hello and welcome to a brand new season of the Wellpreneur Podcast. This is Amanda Cook and I am so excited to be here with you again as we move through these episodes with inspiring interviews and I hope some thought-provoking solo shows to really help you think about how you want to live and work, how you want to grow your business and be well in yourself. So in today's episode, this first episode of season 7, we're talking about designing freedom in your business. I often feel this misconception that people believe that when they hit some sort of revenue goal or when they hit a certain level of success in their business, then magically, voila, they'll have freedom. And it doesn't work that way. If you want to build more freedom into your life and business, it's a conscious, intentional choice. And you can start it even from the moment you're starting your business. So we're going to be talking about that and exploring that and giving you some suggestions and sharing my own experiences with that in this week's episode. Before we get into the episode, I have got some exciting announcements for you, just as little community updates here for Wellpreneurs. First of all, this is huge for me, but maybe not so exciting for you. But did you notice that finally our website is at wellepreneur.com? It used to be at a much longer URL, and now it's wellepreneur.com because I was able to buy that domain, which was a huge adventure that I can talk about sometime if you're interested in learning more about it. But it really feels good. It really feels good. I've wanted to own Wellpreneur.com for years and years, and I'm excited to have it now. Plus, it's so much easier to say and remember. So you can check out the website, Wellpreneur.com. The second new thing that's very exciting is that I've spent a few weeks putting together a new quiz for you. This is really fun. It's the Productivity Blocks quiz. So what I found from working with hundreds of Wellpreneurs, talking to all of you, working with my one-on-one clients is that many people that struggle with productivity have one of 4 really common productivity blocks. So I've got this quiz. It's really fun. You can go take the quiz, find your productivity block, and then I'll give you some specific remedies and rituals and strategies to move through that block so you can be more productive. You can check out the quiz at wellepreneur.com/quiz. And I also want to share with you that I'm so excited to announce that the Wellpreneur Podcast has a new sponsor, Greenleaf Book Group. I know that writing a book is on so many of your bucket lists, and Greenleaf has a variety of services and offerings to make that a lot easier. I'm going to talk to you about Greenleaf over the next few episodes, but the first thing to know is that they've created a publishing partnership called Welleprener Press. It was especially created to give health and wellness experts a path to share their ideas with the world through a book. Welleprener Press is currently searching for health and wellness professionals who have innovative ideas and a story to share. So if you'd like to learn more about their publishing program, you can email authors@wellspiritcollective.com. And now let's get into this episode about designing freedom in your business. Freedom in your life and business. There are so many misconceptions about how to create more freedom in your life and your work. Some people think, oh, well, you must be really lucky to be able to travel or to be able to live wherever you want or to fill in the blank, right? People would think, oh, is that down to luck? Other people think that, and this is very common, that you get freedom once you hit a certain level of success, a certain level of revenue, a certain size of business, a certain point in your life. And what I've seen for myself personally, for my friends, for my mastermind buddies, for my clients, that is absolutely not true. Freedom isn't just given to you, but you need to plan for it. You need to set it as a goal, as an intention, and move towards it conscientiously and create it in your life. I'm not saying it's hard to do. It's not hard to do, but it's a conscious choice. So we're going to explore that in this episode today. First, I've got some good news for you, is that building freedom into your life and business doesn't mean doing more. Actually, it means usually doing a lot less and doing fewer things, but going deeper on them, really owning them, stepping into it, being able to automate and streamline and make a process around fewer things to free you up, to give you more time. So sometimes I like to pull a tarot card before the episode, just before I start recording, just to see what prompts come up and see if it's always related. It's amazing how that works, but just to see if it gives me any other insights into what to talk about. So I just pulled a card before this episode, and it was the Ace of Vessels, which I'll just tell you what that means. So vessels are all about emotion, and ace is like the start of a new cycle, right? So it's because they run from 1 up through like the king and queen card, the court cards, basically. So 1 is like the start of a new cycle. So this is like a start of the new cycle with your emotions. And that makes perfect sense in terms of designing freedom in your life and business, because it all starts with you and how you feel about it. Oh, I know, feelings again, right? I mean, as I've talked about many times before, I used to be really resistant to this whole idea of tuning into your feelings. Feelings were kind of an inconvenience. Now I've realized that feelings are the compass. My feelings are pointing me the way to where I need to go to my best life. They're telling me the fear that I need to work through, or where I might have limiting beliefs, or what I really want that I'm not acknowledging. It all starts with your feelings and your emotions. So when we're looking at creating more freedom in your life and business, it starts with knowing what freedom looks like for you. What does freedom look like for you? What does freedom sound like for you? What does freedom feel like for you? Now, that may sound basic, but it's actually really different for every person. So if you were to look for freedom in your business on the internet, say you were to Google something like that, you're going to get a lot of pictures of people sitting on beaches with their laptop. You're going to get a lot of people that are totally location independent. You'll get like a bunch of guys that are in their late 20s that don't own more than 30 items and they travel all the time. Like that tends to be this stereotypical view of what freedom should, air quotes, look like. But actually, freedom is intensely personal. And the way you're going to get freedom in your life and business is by being really clear up front around what does freedom feel like for you in your actual real life. Not some like, oh, well, if I was in my late 20s and I wasn't married and I didn't have kids and I didn't have a house, then I'd like to take off and live in Timbuktu. Not to say you can't still have all that stuff and live in Timbuktu, but that's a bad example. But the point is, you want to design freedom for your actual life and who you are right now. Our lives have seasons. Of course they do, right? Our lives have seasons, and there's different seasons of your life where different definitions of freedom are going to work for you. So say if you have children at home, you could have a definition of freedom that would work for you now that's going to look very different from your definition of freedom in 15 years when maybe you don't have children at home anymore. So you need to be like really honest with yourself about what does your life look like now, your actual life? Where are your priorities? And then what does freedom look and feel like for you? So freedom, you can think of that in a whole bunch of different areas. There's location freedom. So being able to live and work where you want. And you don't have to have both of those. You might want to live where you want. You might just want to work where you want. You might be able to want to work from home, or you might want to have a wellness center or some sort of clinic or an office with your team there, or a shop or a location. It's totally up to you. I have several friends whose real dream in life, what they want is to create a B&B, a bed and breakfast, so that they can live in a beautiful location and welcome people to their home and live and work there. Now, which is beautiful. So many people want that as a dream. For me, that feels like not freedom at all for me. That feels really restrictive. I don't want people to be coming to my home. Like, this totally doesn't work for me. And that is cool because I've got my own definition of freedom. For me, freedom looks like having one meeting a week. This is like my big goal. Well, maybe not my ultimate big goal, but one of them is I want to have one meeting a week, right? I want to have empty space on my calendar so that I can go really deep in creative work. I love writing and podcasting, and I want hours to do that because that makes me really happy. Now, for some of you listening, you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds awful. I would feel so trapped in my office. I would be super lonely, right? And you want to be out meeting people. This is all cool. So the first rule, the first guideline of designing freedom in your life and business is to know what freedom looks and feels like for you. So we've got location freedom. You've also got time freedom that you can look at. And then you've got, I'd say, creative freedom. So what you want to actually be spending your time doing and where you want your creativity to go. And there's lots more ways that you can look at freedom as well. But to start to explore that is the first step. So where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? Who do you want to be with? What's the rhythm of your week? What's the rhythm of your year? You don't have to know all the specifics. Actually, there's really no point in knowing all the specifics at this point. It's more the feeling. How do you want to feel when you wake up? If you want to do this exercise, I led an ideal day meditation on the podcast last season. We'll link up to that in the show notes. But if you just look for ideal day meditation in the Wellpreneur Podcast, you'll be able to go through that, and that can help bring you some clarity on what type of freedom you're really working towards. Now, once you have your idea of what freedom looks and feels like in your life and business, we need to start to design it, start to create it in, right? Start living this vision of freedom. And what I'd like to put forward to you is that you can start living that vision of freedom right away. You don't have to wait to get to some ultimate level of success. Okay, so maybe you can't be like hiring private jets or like, whatever it is that's in your vision. But actually, for most of us, our visions of freedom are much more simple than that. And so you can start experiencing this freedom right now. So you want to take a look at your strengths. And because when you're designing your business and your life for freedom, part of freedom is feeling ease. So feeling like, that feels pretty easy. Like I could do that, right? For all of us, we have innate strengths, and there's some things that feel easy for us and some things feel hard for us. And what I found is that we often discredit the stuff that feels easy. So some of us have these beliefs that work needs to be hard and that you have to work hard in order to be successful. This is one of the beliefs that I'm actively working on clearing. Maybe I don't have to work so hard to be successful. Now, I'm not saying you don't need to show up and do the work, because of course you do. But here's the nuance. When you start to do work that is in your zone, like your strengths zone, it feels so much easier. So it doesn't feel like hard work. So there's lots of ways to start to explore your strengths. One book that I love on this is The Big Leap by an author named Gay Hendricks. It's just fabulous. I read The Big Leap like every year, and he talks about how you can work in your zone of competence or your zone of excellence or your zone of genius. And when we work in our zone of genius, it's something that is uniquely suited to us, and it feels so much easier. So if you've never read The Big Leap, I really recommend that. Another resource that I find helpful is the Strengths Finder test. This is a test. You do have to pay for it, but it gives you your top strengths so that you can see what type of work, what type of activities really fall into your natural innate strengths. Okay, let's talk about book publishing. Because I've shared my own personal publishing journey with you, that writing a book for your business is one of the most effective ways to establish credibility and authority in your niche. Plus, it's just really cool to see your name on a book. Now, actually publishing a book, going from idea to book, has so many moving parts. And I know from talking to many Wellpreneurs that it can feel really overwhelming. So that's why I was excited to partner with Greenleaf Book Group, and especially their Wellspirit Press partnership. Wellspirit Press has a turnkey approach to hybrid publishing. That means they've got an award-winning staff, high-quality production, and expansive retail distribution. They know how to publish and distribute professional quality books. They built this model to empower authors who retain the rights and creative control related to their work. But you've got a team of experts guiding you through the process. You don't have to figure it all out yourself. As a welcome gift, new Wellspirit Press authors will receive a bonus marketing package built to directly target your ideal audience. If you'd like to book a free consultation with a member of their submissions team to learn more about the publishing process, you can email authors@wellspiritcollective.com or call the U.S. number 1-512-891-6100. And another way you can start to get clear on your strengths, because to be honest, it can be hard to see our own strengths. You can just ask people who know you really well. You can send out an email to 10 people who know you really well in your life or your work and ask them, what are your top 3 strengths? What are you really good at? And see what they say. This can be a challenging exercise to do, but also really insightful to see the people that know you best and what they perceive as your strengths. Now, once you have an idea about where your natural strengths really lie and what freedom looks like for you, then we've got these 2 navigational elements to start to make plans and choices based on that to build more freedom into your life and work. Now, my advice from this point on how to build it in really depends on your phase in business. So I'll talk about some advice if you're just starting out, and then also if you're more established. So if you're just starting out, I totally know this because I've been there and I see other clients do the same thing. It can be really easy to just try to find like the one golden ticket strategy that's going to work, right? What's the thing that's going to make me successful so I can just do that and get enough money to support myself, to quit my job, and then I'll figure out what I really want to do, right? Have you ever felt that way? I know I felt that way. Like, I'll just do this. Actually, when I started Welleprener, this is so embarrassing. When I started Welleprener, I was designing websites for people. That wasn't my business. That wasn't the plan for the business, but I saw that people I knew needed websites and I knew how to do that. So I thought, because I had set up my own WordPress blog and stuff, and I thought, well, I'll just do that. It used to drive me absolutely crazy. And finally, it was my husband that finally said, you have to stop doing this. Because I'd come upstairs and I would have been fighting for 4 hours over this one little piece of the website design that just, everything else was working except this one piece. And I was ripping my hair out about it. And I would just get so frustrated. I'd almost start screaming. And my husband was just like, whoa, because this is not typical for me. He was just said, this is crazy. You have to stop this. This isn't even what your business is about. What are you doing? Well, what I was doing was chasing easy money, right? And that does not work. Maybe it works for some people as a flash in the pan, but we're building sustainable businesses that give us freedom, right? So just chasing easy money is not going to do that. Now, there's a difference between doing things people want to pay for that feel easy to you, that are in your zone of genius. That's a great thing to do. But just chasing whatever the latest strategy is because you think it's going to make you a quick buck is not a way to freedom. So if you're just starting out in your business, I want you to have this vision of what freedom feels like for you, and also an idea about your strengths. And every time you see a new idea or a suggestion or some great business building strategy, run it through that filter. Is this right for you? I can't tell you how many Wellpreneurs I've talked to who said that they need to start a blog, even though they hate writing. This does not make sense. Okay, again, it's different if you're planning on hiring a whole team to do it for you and you have the budget for that, then that's fine. But for most people in the Wellpreneur community, starting businesses, you're starting it on your own, and maybe you'll have an assistant or somebody else help you part-time when you're getting started, but it's mainly you. So why not let it be easy? This is the thing about so much online business coaching and online marketing training. is that, to be honest, there are loads of strategies that will work, but not every strategy will work for you. And you can't do every strategy. So there's a couple things going on there. One, not every strategy is going to work for you because your personality is different, right? Your strengths are different. So just because this one person said she's smashing it with webinars doesn't mean that webinars are going to play to your strengths. Just because one person does really well at in-person workshops and public speaking, if you really hate public speaking and you don't want to have a business where you go out and get in front of people, well, of course, we have to look at, you can always work through some fear. But if this doesn't play to your innate strengths and your idea of freedom, then don't design your business around it, right? The other thing to look at is that the fact that you can't do all the strategies. In the beginning, we like to try all the strategies to see which one is going to work. But the thing is, pretty much all the strategies work. Most of the strategies will work because they've worked for the person who's teaching the strategy, right? But the nuance is, what's your personality? And also, you can't do them all. You need to focus on a couple strategies that suit your strengths and really go for it. So if you're starting a new business and you want to have freedom, if freedom is one of your values, you want to design freedom into your life and business, then my advice to you is don't start with something that you hate. Don't design a business that you hate. I see people do this more than you would imagine, is that they wake up a couple years later from their crazy hustle and realize they've created a business that's running them, that they don't actually enjoy doing. So don't do that. Use some forethought, get clear on your inner compass. This is like what we do in our Alchemy in Action community. Get clear on your inner compass, get clear on your vision of freedom, and then let's choose strategies that are going to get you there based on you and your unique strengths and your unique vision. Now, if you're further along in your business, so to me, that means you've got your business up and running, you have clients and sales that are happening on a regular basis, even if they're not huge, you've got some momentum. Things are working, you're making sales. If you're in this position, if you want to have more freedom in your life and business, you don't need to do more. You actually need to do less. If you look at successful businesses, they're not doing 10 million things. They're really doubling down on what's working. By doubling down on what's working, you're allowing yourself to be able to have that freedom because you can start optimizing the process. So if your business is around one-on-one services, rather than starting up 1,000 other little income streams, why don't you really dial in the one-on-one services, right? If that's working for you in your vision of freedom, then really dial that in. Like, what are the ways that you're leading people into that funnel? How are you getting people to your free discovery calls? And then really optimizing those discovery calls to turn them into clients. What about the people that you've had discovery calls with that didn't work out? Do you have a process in place to follow up with them and re-engage them? There's all these ways that you can optimize that process to get better results rather than just adding more things. If part of your vision of freedom is not meeting with clients one-on-one so that you want to have more leveraged sources of income, then create like that one key product, the thing that solves the biggest problem for your customers, and really double down on that rather than creating 10 little courses and challenges and all sorts of things, like hoping that something will work. Really go all in on the one thing that solves the big problem and dial that in. Get the sales page right. Talk to people about it. Get the great testimonials and really love that one up. So I think this can be a relief for a lot of people, is that if your business has some momentum, if you're already going, you don't necessarily need to do more to grow. You need to really double down and focus on what's working and go all in. I think for all of you, no matter what level of business, this idea of going all in is big. Doing less, going deeper, really owning it, stepping into it, embodying it, being your message. If you do that one simple thing, right? You've got one thing that you do really well and you tell everybody about it over and over and over. This is how you own it. This is how your business is going to get momentum and grow. When I think about that idea of really stepping into it and embodying it, I know that's where I was out of alignment for years, because I always felt like, and I've talked about this before in several episodes, but I've always felt like I was only half of me showing up in my business. Like I'd either be talking about marketing or I'd be talking about like alchemy and herbs and well-being. I wasn't all of me. So I wasn't all in. I was kind of like straddling two different worlds. That's not that effective. Well, actually, I mean, you can still grow, and I did grow and I got some success through it, but it's tiring. It's exhausting. I really, really advise not to do that. It's so much better, which I've seen with myself, just this innate feeling of how much better this feels, how much easier it is to experience growth and for people to understand what you do. I've also seen this with my clients, is that when you get aligned, so it's that getting aligned with your feeling, right? What does freedom look and feel like for you? What do you really want? What's your ideal day? How can we play to your strengths? When you get aligned with that, when you own it and step into it, everything just feels so much more easy and flowing. I know that's a big topic, and you can't really just say, well, get aligned, because the process for me to get aligned with my business took several years. And some of that was mental work of just thinking of how would this fit together? But honestly, that was a small fraction of it. A huge part of me getting aligned with my work and stepping into it was the inner work, is that I wasn't the person I needed to be able to have that kind of business. Like I wasn't the person that could embrace it all yet. I know that sounds weird, right? But it's like your capacity to hold it, to own it, to feel comfortable with it, to feel energetically aligned with it. For me, that's what was off. And it took a couple of years of doing lots of work. I was doing like EFT tapping and lots of journaling and some rituals and like really working with just using all my tools, all the stuff we talk about in Alchemy in Action. I was using these to help myself expand and start to get to the point where I was like, okay, you know what? This is me. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And being ready to show up for that. So I know that's a huge topic, and we're going to be talking about that throughout the season, throughout these interviews that I have scheduled for you, as well as more solo shows. We're really going to be looking at this idea of designing freedom and bringing yourself into alignment with your work so that you can own it and step into it and be it and live it and do it. It's so good. Okay, so I hope I've given you some food for thought for designing freedom in your business. If I leave you with just one thing, it's this idea that you don't need to do more. You don't need to do more, and you don't need to wait until you hit some certain level of success in your life and your business to suddenly have freedom. You can have freedom starting now. You just need to choose it. And you need to start taking steps with intention to start designing your business and your life to bring more freedom in starting today. I'd love to talk with you about this topic in our Facebook group, the Wellepreneur Community Group. There are over 5,000 wellness entrepreneurs. Oh, and entrepreneurs interested in being well, I should say, in our Facebook group. And I would love to have you in there. You can just search Wellpreneur Community on Facebook. And don't forget, I've got a brand new productivity blocks quiz where I'm going to ask you a few questions, identify your one of 4 big productivity blocks, and then I have a whole video for each productivity block that's going to give you like specific remedies and rituals and action steps just to clear that block. It's really juicy and amazing, and I can't wait to share it with you. You can try the productivity blocks quiz at wellpreneur.com/quiz. Okay, have a fantastic week, and I will see you back here next week full of freedom in the next episode. Have a great one.